this is Larry London, and you are watching Border Crossings on television. Thank you very much for tuning into the show today. Thanks to our virtual technology, we are joined from his home by Armon Jay. Armon is a member of a band that began, I don't know, in the 90s at some point, I think late 90s, called Dashboard Confessionals. Welcome to the Voice of America, Armon. Nice to have you with us.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Now, first of all, I believe that Dashboard Confessionals were formed in Florida. Is that where you currently live and where I'm talking to you now?
No, most of us live in Nashville now. Chris and I both live in Franklin. That's how we connected, actually. So, yeah, no one's in Florida anymore. Well, I take that back, actually. Well, CK, our drummer, he's in Florida, but he's not a OG member. But yeah, he's from Florida, so he's there still. He's in Orlando, our drummer. But yeah, most of us are in Nashville. Our bass player is in Milwaukee.
Wow.
But yeah,
all over the place. Well, the computer world allows you to connect regardless of where you are these days.
Yeah.
How have you been holding up since this COVID-19 pandemic began back, I think, what were we talking about, March, I think?
That's crazy, man. I mean, we came, speaking of Dashboard, we came straight home from a tour. We were in the middle of our, celebrating the 2020 Dashboard anniversary tour. And we were in New York when it all really, it all happened really quick, and we came home. It kind of happened like it was just like the second day in New York, we kind of knew, we knew about, we were aware of everything. But it definitely, obviously, as everyone knows, it escalated quickly. So we made the call to, our tour manager pulled us in and said, "Hey, here's the deal. We're going to cancel the next few shows and head to, I forgot where we were headed, blah, blah, blah." And then we were like, "Okay, let's do that," and then the next day they made the call.
Anniversary, it's safe to assume Dashboard Confessionals are still together, even though now you've got a solo project going on.
Oh yeah, we're still doing it. Before I joined Dashboard, I had my solo thing, and that's kind of how I connected with Chris. So it's always worked out, yeah. So it's been cool. But the whole pandemic thing, we knew obviously we weren't gonna, it wasn't, for one, the right thing, and obviously smart to stay on tour.
Right.
For everybody, just a bus traveling around, spreading that virus. If we had it, it'd be insane. So we came straight home and quarantined for 14 days, and because we were in like the hotspot, we were in New York. So, and then I basically have stayed home for 6 months or however long it's been, But it's, as a whole, I when I'm home, I work in my studio anyway, and I'm here. The only thing that's been different is, well, for one, releasing the record has been I've done that. That's been different for the completely different thing this time around. But it's still been fun. It's still been good, and the only thing that's a little different is I enjoy having people in my studio and co-writing and working with other people. So, I haven't opened the doors yet, but we'll see. I just try to be smart and be a part of the solution, in whatever way I can,
Oh, I can't change what already happened. I can only control how I react. I don't know, for all I know, maybe, yeah, it already happened again. Sometimes I wonder if you're better off. Sometimes I wonder if you're better off. Sometimes I wonder if you're better off without me. Without me.
We're talking with Armon Jay, who is at home in Nashville. And so the new album, the solo project, it's an interesting time to put out an album. It's got to be extra difficult to promote an album when you can't really do much to promote the album. The new album is called The Dark Side of Happiness, and this album comes from a dark place, obviously the dark side of happiness. From what I've read, it's inspired by anxiety, frustration, self-doubt. Was this something you wanted to do even before the pandemic? Is this something that came about as a result of the pandemic?
No, unfortunately, I can't pin it on that. Yeah, you know, it's yeah, I actually did the record in 2018, which is crazy. Didn't plan, you know, at that time. I didn't finish the album and say, all right, now I'm going to release this in 2020. But it just kind of happened that way, you know, and just with scheduling and with Dashboard and everything, it just made sense. But I did plan to release the album before the pandemic happened, so it was kind of already in motion. But I decided to commit to it and just, you know, and I didn't feel like it was a thing for me. Some people, you know, have been putting off records. For me, it just didn't make sense to put it off anymore. So, you know, but everyone gets creative, and I've enjoyed like this process, even though it's been different. You know, I haven't been able to go on the road or anything, but you know, I did a live stream yesterday. I had the opportunity to do a live stream, and it was technically a really big show. You know, it was a crowd. It was a thing I got to be a part of. So, you know, it wasn't a built-in. I mean, it was a built-in audience. It wasn't like I brought all these people, but it was a really cool opportunity for exposure. And you could say, in a way, it was one of my biggest shows, you know, because of the technology we have today. You know, it's crazy.
The virtual world has kind of opened up new doors. It's forced people to be creative, but at the same time, it's allowed you to be global for what you do and how you do it virtually now.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time right now, and the music industry, you know, it's been really hard. You know, everyone's taking a hit, you know. So,
so how much Dashboard Confessional influence comes into this album? You mentioned it's something very different. The world is different today. How about your music? How is that different than what you were doing?
Well, like I said, I've always had my solo thing and Dashboard. So it's different, you know, and just by default, you know, it's me and my own project, and it's my outlet to be creative and to do my thing. But I also get to be creative in Dashboard. You know, we made the last record together as a team, and you know, it's Chris's thing. You know, it's always Chris's thing, but he's so good at allowing people in and allowing people to be heard, and to also even take an input and to work together. So it's kind of like I really feel spoiled a lot, you know, because I get to do, you know, there's something special about being in a band and working with people and seeing something come together when everybody gets on the same page. And then there's something really special about doing something on your own, and something that's really close to you, you know, and I get to just kind of be free and do my thing. So they're both really fun, you know. But this is my solo music is, you know, it is a different thing, because it's like, you know, like I said, it's special to me. I get to really kind of speak a language that I want to speak and tell a story that I want to tell, you know, and kind of share in that way, you know.
Now, the Chris that Armon is referring to is Chris Carrabba, who put together Dashboard Confessionals with Armon and a number of other guys. Now, the new album, your newest project, which you say you put it together in 2018 before the pandemic. Are there any? Did you add any tracks to it that were directly influenced by the pandemic?
No. Yeah, I came home. I wasn't in too much of a creative space to write or anything. But you know, at the same time, it was really like it was completely done. That's the kind of crazy thing about this whole release, is it was done. It was mastered. signed, sealed, ready to go. And then I didn't release it for, a good year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So until now.
And it took you 2 months to make the album.
It did, yeah.
But it was long days.
Yeah, they were really long, but they were really fun too. I would do it. I say I would do it again, but I might do it again, but just a little differently, maybe with a little more help.
So are you a superstitious guy? Is there anything you specifically like in a studio is there, some people have stuffed animals, some people like certain things a certain way. Are you one of those?
I wouldn't say I'm superstitious. I'm a little, I was about to do an Office quote. Do you ever watch The Office?
I've seen it with Steve Carell, yeah.
I can't help but think of Michael Scott when he says he's a little stitious. He says, I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. Anyway, I couldn't help myself. But I do have, I'm OCD. I have OCD. So I'm not superstitious, but I definitely have things that I like. That
you like to be a certain way. Well, that's great.
It's a little more than that too. It's like I have things that might get in my head, and if they're not a certain way, like even like lighting is huge. Lighting is a huge thing. As weird as it sounds, the way a room smells is big to me. So I burn these things, these pieces of wood called Palo Santo, and I'm a big fan of Palo Santo. It kind of like the trend came around like in the last year or two. It's kind of a trendy thing, but like I've been using that stuff since like 2014. I just love it.
Wow.
So that's kind of what my studio smells like if you came here.
That is so cool. That is really
sweat.
Cool. Yeah. and pizza. And it gives your fans a little bit of insight, because probably these are things that maybe the fans didn't know about, Armon Jay. The album, how much of the songs that you've written are personal? I mean, when you talk about depression and you talk about some of the dark things going on, are these your own personal world or things you observe around you, or where does the songs take root?
With the exception of one song, the one song on the album it's called Stay Grounded, and that's from a bit of a different perspective. I kind of wanted to step out of my head for a minute, and that's a little bit more of an observation. But yeah, the rest of the record is hands down personal. It's sometimes too personal a little bit, I feel, but I'm okay with it. It's all right.
Well, it's great. If you can help people, this can be therapeutic for not only for the fans who enjoy the music, but for you to express personal thoughts and feelings and whatever. So it's a kind of therapeutic in a way. And now mental health has come to the forefront of, what is, general media. People aren't afraid to talk about things anymore. They're opening up, which is inspiring other people to see help and things like that. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I couldn't agree more. Like when I released the record, I had this feeling of like, oh man, it's a vulnerable record. There's a lot of things on there I touch on that make me feel exposed a little bit, but sure enough, like just message after message is like, thank you for sharing this. Thank you. This is like my heart on a record. This is exactly how I feel. Just so many messages, and it's only been out not even 2 weeks, and I just continue to get that same response. So that's it's always encouraging to feel like, or to know that it's connecting in that way.
Mm-hmm. And I bet you can't wait to perform this stuff live. It's got to be very hard for an artist to not be able to interact with your audience to the same extent that you would if you were actually on tour and meet and greets and things like that.
Exactly, man. Yeah, I when I get in that world, I just kind of I'm naturally drawn to the whole deal, and I've been doing it for quite a while now in various bands and projects, and I definitely miss it. I miss it a lot.
Well,
So I have
hopefully,
faith it'll come back.
yeah, hopefully the end is in sight. Hopefully, I hear mixed opinions on how far, how long, when we're going
Right.
to be able to return to some normalcy. But and I read somewhere where you were influenced by the Beach Boys, among other acts. So, I mean, is that one of your influences?
Oh yeah, totally. Brian Wilson is just like, I would love to just, yeah, spend a day with him, man. He's yeah, absolutely. He's just
Who else is on your wish list?
a genius. Oh, well, unfortunately, most of them are passed, but
Hmm.
if I could ever go back in time, Nick Drake, Elliott Smith, um, in today's world, I love Phoebe Bridgers, an artist named Phoebe Bridgers. I'm a big fan of a lot of instrumental music too.
Hmm.
A guy named Olafur Arnolds, he's always kind of inspired me, and his music is definitely, you can hear a little bit of his style in some of my songs, and he's really inspiring. Yeah, there's so many, but yeah, those are a few for sure off the top.
As a songwriter, have you ever thought about making an instrumental album, an instrumental music album? I just had Mike Shinoda on a couple weeks ago, and he's just put out 3 instrumental music albums.
I love it, man. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely on the horizon. So I have so many instrumentals actually, but I've never done like an instrumental album. But I have a lot of recordings, and when the time's right, I have some ideas and some things up my sleeve. So definitely.
What is the future plan? I mean, pending the world opening up as we knew it, but beyond that, back on the road with Dashboard, or by yourself solo for the project? What is your next plan?
Yeah, like as you know, there's a little bit of waiting and seeing, and you can't plan too much. But at the same time, yes, both of those. I'll be doing touring on my own solo music, whether it's opening up for some artists. I'm always trying to stay ahead of that and see where everybody's trying to see where it goes, with the pandemic and when that time will come. But that's on the list for sure. And of course, Dashboard we'll be doing some stuff for sure.
Now, I know that most artists prefer not to put themselves in a box with a label, and that just seems to be the way the business runs and industry runs these days. But if you could describe or define the kind of music you do, what would you describe it as?
I used to have all these weird neo folk terms and all this stuff, and it just wasn't working. And so even now, it's kind of funny though. I have a hard time calling it singer songwriter because I don't personally think it is really. It's maybe just more alternative folk. But it is funny. There's like a new thing, a term being tossed around a little more lately these days with like Phoebe Bridgers and her new album, and they kind of call it emo folk. But I'm okay with that.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Oh, that's a cool name. So, I mean, as far as the album goes, and it took you 2 months to record it. How long did it take you to create the songs that you put on there? Is it like a lifetime of work? Because you're dealing with a lot of very personal subjects.
No, there's over a course of maybe 2 years, most of the songs were written between like 2016 and 2018. But the title track I started writing in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a long time ago, and I have many, many, many versions of it. But I finally landed on what is on the record now. But most of the songs, I believe I wrote around 2016, between 2016 and 2018.
What are your thoughts about music today? When you put on the radio, you like what you hear? You don't like what you hear? What do you think?
Well, I used to have a bit of a chip on my shoulder. I think we all go through seasons of that, and I didn't like this and top 40 this and all that. And although I don't really prefer pop music, I I'm I definitely respect it because it's not easy to make. I've learned that it's really not an easy thing, and people think it is, but it's not. Um, and my wife, she loves a little. She has a little bit. I need to be more open, and I try to listen to these days. I try to listen to like literally everything, but I definitely
Mhm.
have stuff I lean into. But when I turn on the radio, I'm usually just kind of like it's so like stimulating, like all the production. I'm usually I'll have a good time listening to it for the most part.
Definitely from a techno side, it is processed quite a bit these days. But the
Yeah,
singer-songwriter, I mean, that hasn't been around for a little bit. I mean, people like Ed Sheeran are doing that, so
yeah,
it's kind of things are changing a little bit.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
it's great, it's great to have somebody like you, who's performing the kind of music that you perform, and bringing the perspective that you're bringing to this new album, which, by the way, is called The Dark Side of Happiness. For those just tuning in, Armon Jay is our guest. And so if people want to get the new album, where do they go? How do they get it?
Yeah, you can go to armonjay.com, and that'll direct you everywhere. But you can get it on any streaming platform. I personally listen to music on Spotify, and of course, I love people to support. You can buy the record, the digital record, digital copy right now on my web store with my website, but Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, whatever.
So it fell down, slipped right out of my grip, and it's broken now, and I can't seem to fix it. I could tell everyone, but only you would really understand. Yeah, I was just making excuses for being a little selfish.
What other projects do you have in the back of your mind that you'd like to do? You mentioned the instrumentals, but a holiday album, something, anything completely off the radar?
I can't really speak about it too much, but I'm working with a good friend of mine. We're working on a project. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it too much yet, but I'm excited about it. That's all I can say. It's different than what I normally do, so it's fun.
Yeah, that for an artist, I'm sure, to try to stretch the boundaries has got to be a fun
Yeah,
experience. And it
absolutely.
seems like these days everything is a collaboration now.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm like today. I'm working with an artist on my licensing company, a company I work with, and I do that a lot. So that really helps me get out of my head and just working with other people, and I grow every time I do.
All right,
So
it's going to be Armon Jay and Marshmallow, right? Is that what's coming in?
nice. That's awesome.
The album's called The Dark Side of Happiness, and congratulations on what has been your solo success, and also Dashboard Confessional. I know that your fans are tuned in and watching around the world. Is there plans for an international tour in the mix somewhere along the lines?
Oh, I'm sure, for sure. With Dashboard, absolutely. It'll happen.
Where are your favorite places to go when you're going around the world? Because we're out in 100 countries, so.
Yeah, man, I love Australia. I love going to Australia. Dashboard, we went to Singapore. We've been to a lot of really cool places, and just was really enjoy it. We went to Bali even, and that was a trip. But I'm a big fan of Australia. I gotta admit. I don't like getting there though. I really have a hard time getting there. I dread that. I really do.
24-hour plane ride, huh?
I dread it with a passion. It's a big deal for me, but when I get there, I'm happy.
And stories from the road. Do you have anything you could share with us? One of the most interesting, funny, weirdest, unusual, stowaway fan, and in the bus, underneath the bus or something.
Oh man, too many, so many. I wouldn't even know where to start.
Put it in a book. That's coming up next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Armon, for being our guest. Armon Jay, The Dark Side of Happiness is the name of his new album. Get it online. Of course, Amazon, iTunes, everywhere that records are available. And I thank you so much for joining us on the show. And can't wait to have you in the studio when you guys come to DC and we can do this right.
Oh, man, I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Armon Jay is our guest. This is Border Crossings. My name is Larry London. Thanks for watching.